Hi, we're out on our range today, and once again, no, you haven't won a prize. That's a scam. Now, again today, we're talking about handgun training techniques for concealed carry, personal protection, home defense. And I'm going to show you a drill, and it's called the El Presidente drill. Now, what that entails can be different things at different times in different places. I'm going to show you the way I learned it. And I'll show you a couple of techniques for perhaps getting better at it. And when we're done with that, we'll have a brief discussion on the relevance of this drill in terms of training for concealed carry, personal protection, home defense. So whatever commentary you have about this is outdated and immaterial and so forth, save those for the discussion portion. Okay, let's go to the target. So we have 3 targets. They're typically farther apart than this, but to get them all on one target frame and to get them all on camera, we've put them close together. And the way the drill will work is the shooter will start at 10 yards. On the command of fire, he'll fire 6 shots. A, B, C, C, B, A. It's very important that you shoot it in that order. Then he'll do a reload. Doesn't matter if you really need to reload. Reloading's part of the drill. And then repeat. A, B, C, C, B, A. So you'll do a total of 12 shots. There should be 4 on each target. And this is typically done in a 10-second time limit, although that can vary depending on where you are. And so you have to shoot fast and accurately at multiple targets and add a reload drill and a movement. And we'll see the movement when we do the drill. So let's put all this together and see what the drill looks like. I know right now you're looking into the sun, but on this particular range, this time of day, this time of year, that's the only option we have. Now, the way this drill works is I'm 10 yards from the target and I start facing away from the target with my hands up in what I call the hands up position. Time starts on the command of fire, and on the command of fire, the shooter will pivot, presenting as he does so, but not bringing the pistol up until it's down range. You don't want to bring the pistol up while it's still up range. Do the drill. Time ceases as soon as I fire the 12th shot. Now, I'm not going to shoot this drill. I'm going to have Roy shoot the drill because in my condition, it's going to take most of my 10 seconds just to get turned around. So, let's see how he does. Shooter ready? Fire. Now let's take a look at the targets. Here's target number 1, and in no particular order, 1, 2, 3, 4. Target number 2, in no particular order, 1, 2, 3, 4. And target number 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So to analyze these results, we see on target number 1, really good group. Target number 2, not bad, but with 1 flyer. This is very common when the shooter is concentrating on moving from one target to the other and trying to be fast and ends up not concentrating on sight alignment, sight picture, trigger control at that particular instant. Target number 3, we see some of the shots are low. Remember, this is the target where you shoot 2, and this is common where someone will start hurrying and doing that kind of thing. And so these results are actually pretty typical of what you see with someone who hasn't practiced this specific drill a lot. So let's put up some new targets, try this again. Okay, let's see how I can do, and bear with me on the spin.
Fire!
Now let's take a look at the targets. And on target number 1, we see 1, 2, 3, 4. On target number 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And on target number 3, something very interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this bonus hole. Now that was not there when we started. You can see it looks like a different caliber than what I was shooting. And that bullet went through the cardboard and the upright, the target frame on the back. So it's not like that hole was already there. We're speculating that this is one shot and somehow that frangible bullet split in half on its way down. We really don't know. So the accuracy here, not bad. The time limit is 10 seconds. Took me right about 12. I'm going to blame that on my inability to do a good basketball pivot. That sounds like as good of an excuse as anything else I could come up with. So, why are my scores and my time better than what Roy had? Let's break this down and see if we can improve his score. Now let's start with a really crucial thing that can cause problems with a good stable shooting stance and with your time, is the pivot at the very beginning of the drill. A lot of times, you got the targets behind you, you tell somebody to fire, and rather than pivot, he just kind of, okay, hold on, turns around. That costs you a couple of seconds and takes you longer to get into your good stable shooting stance. What you're going to do is your non-dominant side foot, so in my case my left foot, isn't going to go anywhere. You're just going to come up on your toes and spin around, kind of like a basketball pivot. Now, I'll try to demonstrate this. Please, again, bear with me. I can't really do it. So I'm going to push off on my dominant leg, and I'm going to spin around, and now I'm already in my stance, and my pistol is coming up as I'm coming into this position. Not only that, because my non-dominant foot isn't going anywhere, it spins around but it hasn't traveled anywhere, then I'm standing here if the targets were behind me. And the idea is that as I pivot, you see, I've shifted over. So if someone's trying to shoot me from behind, ideally, just about the time he fires is when I pivot and he misses. But in terms of doing this drill quickly and accurately, the pivot is key. So let's see if Roy can do this. Now remember, he's left-handed, so he's going to spin the opposite way. Shift to your left a little, right there. Okay, so his right foot will stay in position and just pivot, and he'll push off hard with his left foot to get that spin. Ready? Right. Fire. Just like that. Now, let's take a look at another aspect of this drill. Another problem we're having here is we're really using the wrong targets for this drill. Let's take another close-up look at these targets. This target has a really small aiming point. I mean, that's pretty small. And it creates the impression that unless you hit this, if you're outside it, then somehow that's poor accuracy and that you've missed. When in reality, anywhere in this 9 ring would be just about as good as anywhere else. So a group that was like this would really be just about as good as a group like this. So what can happen sometimes is, under a time constraint, someone's going to try to hit that really small orange center, and he'll think, I'll take the extra half second to try to get the better accuracy. But he knows that the clock is working against him, and so a lot of times in that situation, it will detract from his accuracy instead of enhancing it. So let's take a look at a different target. So now we've put up some new targets that don't have an aiming center that's a different color than the rest of the target. And the scoring rings on these are there, but not so readily visible. Let's take a close-up look at these targets. Now what we see here is there's no ink defining the scoring rings, just perforations in the cardboard, and these are extremely difficult to see from any significant distance. This -0, if you can see that, that's just something with the way this target is designed to be scored. But what we see here is no really well-defined aiming point and a bullseye ring that's a more realistic size. So now, after some work on the pivot and with some more realistic targets, let's see how he does on our El Presidente drill. Shooter ready, fire. And now let's take a look at the targets. And in no particular order, on target number 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. On target number 2, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And on target number 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. That looks like a defective round, but that's still where it hit. So what we saw was a significant improvement in time, and although the groups were too low, the groups themselves were for the most part better. Now, what's the problem with them being too low? Let's see if we can work on that. Okay, it's a couple of days later. Now, what we saw was that he was having trouble with accuracy. Groups were big and a lot of his shots were low. There are many things that can cause that. Perhaps it's just poor quality ammunition. Perhaps a poor quality pistol. Perhaps his pistol just doesn't like this particular ammunition. Maybe his sights are off. So off camera, we put all of that to the test, and what we found was that shooting one target at a slow rate of fire, that pistol, that ammo, he was holding very good groups and in the center of the target. So none of that is the trouble. So what is the problem? A lot of times when you add multiple targets and you put a time constraint on it, people are thinking about the clock and they're thinking about transitioning, and they're not concentrating as much as they should on sight alignment, sight picture, trigger control, breath control, stance. So what we're going to do is take out the time constraint, take out the spin, and just let him shoot the drill slow at these targets and see if we can get those groups better and that shot placement better. Now, you see we've also changed targets. These are Dirty Bird splattering targets, which typically have a nice big red aiming point in the middle. Well, I put a small black target over that so we don't have that defined aiming point. And so with no time constraint, let's see how his group looks. Fire. And when we look at the targets, we see some good hits, some not so good, some low. Good hits, not so good, low. Good hits, and low on every target. So what we saw in that drill was that his initial shots were all centered really well. But as he tries to speed up, he starts getting off target. So let's do this drill again and concentrate on slowing down and taking the time necessary to get the hits. Shooter ready. Fire. For our hits on target number 1, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's because it knocked off one of the pasties, so the hits are 1, 2, 3, 4. Target number 2, there's also extra because it knocked off a pasty, but still we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Target number 3, also an extra one because it knocked off the pasty, but the hits are 1, 2, 3, 4. And this one over here, that's a flyer, that's just him, and yes, that is very annoying when that happens. So what we see is that when he takes the time necessary to concentrate on sight alignment, sight picture, trigger control, we get very good accuracy. And this shows us you have to take your time. However, in this kind of exercise, you have to take your time in a hurry. So now that we've done that, let's try to increase the speed just a little bit without sacrificing a significant amount of accuracy. Shooter ready. Fire. Target number 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Target number 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Target number 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what we see is that when we take the time necessary, he got extremely good hits. And what you have to do from here is just start working on that speed. And as you go faster and faster, if your groups start to open up, then slow down again until you can maintain the necessary accuracy. But while we're talking about necessary accuracy, let me show you something. Remember those silhouettes that he was just shooting at were very small. And for this type of drill, if you had a group about this big on your intended target, it really is going to be just as good as a group this big. So now with a more realistic size target, let's see if we can increase his speed while maintaining the necessary accuracy. Shooter ready?
Ready.
Fire. And here's target number 1, target number 2, target number 3, which still, even though that's bigger, well within acceptable standards of accuracy for this drill. So there you have it, the El Presidente drill and some ways to improve your score on it. Concentrating on certain parts, breaking down and practicing the different parts at different times. We also saw the adage that slow equals smooth, smooth equals fast. And you should always practice on shooting accurately before trying to shoot fast. And if you try to shoot that drill and you're getting bigger and bigger groups, stop, slow down again until you're shooting accurately. Now, I mentioned earlier about we put it to the test to make sure that it wasn't a bad combo of gun and ammo and making sure the sights were on and so forth. Okay, we didn't illustrate that because we didn't really need to. But there's a thing you will see sometimes where you go to the range and you're shooting a target and you're getting a very poor group. So what's wrong with that? Is it you? Is it the gun? Is it the ammo? You hand your pistol to somebody and he shoots a much better group. Hand it to someone else and they shoot a much better group. Then you get the gun. And you know, okay, then we know the problem's you. And you have to go back and work on those fundamentals before you start trying to do these multiple target drills. Because hitting what you're shooting at is always the most important thing. So once you have a drill like that and you practice the different parts, is that drill really relevant? Okay, I told you we'd have a brief discussion on that, so let's keep it as brief as I can. The idea that you're going to be face to face with 3 adversaries and you're going to shoot all of them and they're not going to get a shot off or they're going to miss might sound a little far-fetched, but although there are different versions of this story, most versions of the gunfight at the OK Corral showed that that's pretty much what it was 2 groups pretty close together shooting it out, and those who shot more accurately were the ones who came out on top. So this drill, in that sense, I think is relevant. It also combines the movement, like the spin, the multiple targets, having to shoot fast, having to shoot accurately, throw a magazine change in there, and that's a whole lot of things to be doing at once, and I think this is a very good drill that is worthy of practice. That having been said, don't try this at home on what you call a professional, and thanks for watching the El Presidente drill video.